So Todd, tell us why there's so much excitement at the moment about retail media. What's really driving interest in the category?
Well, it's a couple of things. I think the first and most important thing is, for the first time, we're able to stitch together the customer journey or the consumer journey from the time that brands are discovered and considered all the way down to the point of purchase and measure it. So it's a very exciting progression in the media space for that reason.
So you oversee product at Criteo,
Yeah.
and Criteo has become a critical player in this new ecosystem. Tell us a bit about data. What does your data architecture look like? What kind of products have you been building to capitalize on this growth?
That's a great question. There are really three major parts of the data architecture of the company with its rich lineage in performance marketing. The first is that we have constantly been looking at product data, not just product catalogs of our customers, but also across product catalogs of different manufacturers, so that in a way we have a view of how products are organized across the entire consumer landscape. What gets purchased when, what gets purchased with it, how things are priced, where they're in stock. So that's one very important thing. The second thing is we're looking at behavioral data across all of the different e-commerce and offline environments, as well as media behavior, in pulling this consumer journey together. That's the second piece. And the third piece is really identity data, first-party data that comes on more of the person basis from our customers and our partners, so that the three things together, along with ad performance data, can make a great media story.
So one of the many interesting things about this segment, it seems to me, is that it's a hyper-connected ecosystem. You've got numerous different companies connecting with one another through partnerships and integrations. How do you think about that ecosystem from a data point of view? Who do you have to connect with to be able to deliver brilliant services to your clients?
Well, you sort of stuck on a point, which is, that hyper-connectivity is still maturing. It's still very new. It's a little bit clumsy, if I had to be honest. The answer is we need to connect to everyone. We need to not only be an easy way to bring data in and protect it on behalf of our different stakeholders, but we need to be able to push it to the edges very effectively. Our lineage as a company didn't really foresee that need as much as we do today. So we're constantly looking for ways to make it a lot easier for marketers and media owners to collaborate with their data, both inbound in an onboarding way and also pushing it to the applications that they choose to use or the use cases that are most important to them.
How do you think about outcomes? So advertisers want to understand what results they're delivering from their media spend. Retail media is no different. How do you link up exposures to sales?
Outcomes are really how this company was built. Initially it was a purchase outcome, and that goes all the way back to our very first product, which was retargeting and product recommendations made around retargeting. We've really pulled that forward across the entire consumer journey, but it's quite evolved, whereas now we're looking from a performance perspective at the bottom of the funnel at more advanced metrics like how does customer acquisition cost relate to customer lifetime value, or a cost per order, the expansion of that order. If you go further away from the e-commerce experience or the off-site shopping experience, in-store as we would call it, you're looking at things like how are people considering products, how are they researching them, what are the inputs of that, and there are measures that go with that in the middle of the funnel. At the top of the funnel, you're thinking about brand discovery and how do you measure, the consumer's reaction to discovering a brand for the first time and wanting to be more familiar with it. So if you look at it on that continuum, it's different golden metrics across each of those stages, and then trying to accommodate for how they would be pulled together so that you can measure an output, whether it's incrementality to sale or whether it's a multi-touch attribution model to sale or whether it's just a mixed model. We do all of those.
So when we talk about data collaboration, the conversation often stops at clean rooms.
Right.
But of course, a clean room is only one part of the workflow.
Right.
We have to think about other pipelines. Are those processes mature yet? There's a lot of work to be done, is my sense.
I'm so glad you asked that, because if I spent a lot of time in the data space with Axiom and LiveRamp. That's how I really got started on this. And I would say, if anything, the data collaboration picture has gotten even more complicated than it was back in those days, which was 2014, so 10 years ago. What's interesting about that is we're trying to mature around consumer addressability and the stewardship of first-party data in a very old way today, when in fact where we're headed is informing deep learning models and advanced AI with things like training data and model weights, as opposed to this sort of patchwork quilt of data which is connected in either a clean room or in some other capacity. So I think we're sort of squarely stuck between this mess that we're in right now and what's coming. And I think we've done a pretty good job kind of making it a little less messy. The way we think about it at Criteo is just remove as much of that complexity from marketer and media owner as possible. Don't make it opaque, but make it in a way easier to run at bid time, at product recommendation time, at measurement time. I think we've done a good job with that, but I spent a lot of time looking beyond that into, say, 25, end of 25, 26, when what I see is advanced AI, like it has done in the platforms, really invading the space of retail media and what we know as open programmatic today. So it's two different stories, one that we're doing well with now, making it easier for marketers and media owners, and then a whole crazy next chapter, which is going to pander to the same group a different way.
And how is AI going to transform the space?
Well, a bunch of different ways. Just to stay with that particular topic, which is really like, how do you make sense of the consumer journey while being privacy minded and still get the same performance as you were asking before. What's exciting about deep learning is that you can use a lot less data to do those things. You can safeguard that data in new and exciting ways. Rather than looking at stitching data, you're looking at small bits of training data which inform models. So I think that will be very transformative. In other words, less data is going to be necessary, less dense data is going to be necessary to get the outcomes that you were talking about.
So final question.
Yeah.
Tell me about collaboration. What role do you think industry collaboration can and should play to help this ecosystem work better, to make it more efficient, more effective for all parties?
I mean, collaboration's the name of the game. We've been talking a lot about data and consumerism, but if you think about how a CMO would think, or the head of a media company would think, they're just trying to figure out, how am I going to preserve what I've got and make it better without having to deal with all the complexity? So collaboration depends on, to me, who you are and what you have to offer to simplify the use cases, the workflows, the buying practices that are all starting to evolve towards a more connected customer and consumer journey.